Greetings everyone, my name is Greg. In this video I am going to talk about the idea that I've heard from religious people of pretty much all kinds that God can do what God wants because God is God. It is a mentality that I simply can't go along with. The idea that if you create something you have the right to do with it as you please. This is a vile little concept that is very prevalent with the religious. Now, in this video, I am featuring not only the typical, to use the term hottie, that I have in the corner, but I also have what I've considered my mascot, a pink monkey. And I'll give you the backstory on the pink monkey. That all started with me about, oh my word, 7 to 8 years ago, maybe 9, with my ex-girlfriend, who was a black woman that was also an atheist like me. And I had said to her that God is like a pink monkey, because I had seen pink elephants, pink unicorns, but I had never come across a pink monkey. And then after I said that, it was ironic as hell that I started finding pink monkeys. And what that could indicate is basically prior to saying that I wasn't looking, really, for pink monkeys. But once it was in my head that I was pretty much looking for pink monkeys of, do they exist anywhere? I had found one that you push on it and it plays music and sings a little song, but initially that was the only one I had found. Well, I'm good at these claw grab games. And when I first got together with the girlfriend that I'm with now, that I've been with for the past 7 years, I saw this guy in a claw grab and I went for it. And I got it relatively easily, like I do a lot of them that I have gotten over the years. The thing is, it became basically a mascot for me, that I was pretty much collecting pink monkeys. Not that I believe in God because I have pink monkeys, not at all. But I've had the thought for a while now of, I'm working on learning Blender so that I can bring Pinky here along with the other characters that I've thought of to life in a 3D sense. It is something that I think will be amusing, and when that time is at hand and I'm ready to start doing that, I know I'm going to need other people to do voice work for the different characters. And that is something, by all means, if you would be interested, leave your name and leave a comment in the comment section. And it's something that I would definitely get back to you on, and you can email me at my OccultThinkTank email. That's the primary one that I use. The thing is, I'll have that in the description bar below as well. The thing is, the idea that I had come up with for Pinky is, one, I had talked to a friend of mine about animating him. Because, as you can see, he is just a pink monkey. And for those that want to see what his shirt says, or outfit, Major Cutie. It is something that my girlfriend had the thought, and she found the preemie clothes that fit them. So it was something that I'm not opposed to that idea. In the 3D aspect with Blender, they would have different clothes that they would wear by that program. It wouldn't be, the model for how he would look is based on this, but the 3D version, I would guarantee, would not have the mitten hands. That I would do to use the term, a better job. But I had talked to a friend of mine a few years ago because I had the thought of animating him. And the friend of mine had said, if you would just be talking, the mechanical robotics, to even have like a remote control, that could be done. He said he could do that now. And I was, no, what I want is a fully artificial intelligence, to use the term android. Something that would be about this size, but would be able to not only use a computer and type on a keyboard, but could basically learn everything that has been put forward in human history, all human knowledge, to be contained in. Basically, to use the term, it would be the head, but not so much, because I would probably be thinking that most of the mechanics, as far as the memory and all of that, would be more in the body. I don't know. But the friend of mine had said the aspect of artificial intelligence, a computer that is not only self-aware, but able to learn and improve on its own construction, that is beyond what he's capable of doing, and it might even be beyond what we're as a society capable of doing. And it was when the thought had occurred to me, some of the things that also came to my mind as a result of it was, basically, would the government, Big Brother, have an interest in basically trying to take that idea or that creation and be, we want this, we could use this would help us, we could use this to our ends. And in a sense, at that point, I would be very inclined to go, no. But there's also the thought in the aspect of a fully functioning android, even if, to use the term, the android itself would want to reproduce. That would be a necessary requirement, I would think, for basically the self-awareness, is the desire to procreate. But their version of procreation would be to mechanically create another version of itself. Now, this brings in a lot of implications. One being, could they have a job? Could they work in our society? Our society would have to change, because our society and working is geared for looking at a machine as an object, a thing, something that is owned by someone else. And my attitude, if I would bring Pinky to life, would be, in a technical sense, yes, I would be his owner. But I would look at it as, I don't own him any more than I would own one of my children. If I would have a biological child, they would be my child, but I would not own them. And that is where my thought is on it, because something that is having its own mind and the ability to think and reason and reach its own conclusions would be a vital part. And this comes in directly with what Christians would call a God, because If Pinky would be an animated machine, android, right now, if you would ask him, is there a God? No doubt he would look at you and go, yeah, it's me. Because the aspect of who created you, that would be me. Where did all the idea for your existence come from? That would be me. Everything about it would make me the God. However, the way I am thinking of this, and I welcome input from those watching this, just because, to use the term, his life would be a byproduct of, to use the term, either my genius or my craziness or whatever, my desire, it would not mean that I own him. Because when he would be able to reach his own conclusions and have his own thoughts, no doubt he would be able to articulate them and explain why he feels the way he does or believes what he does. That this leads to this, leads to this. And one of the things I would want Pinky to do would be not only learn everything in human history, but learn all of religions and be able to break down in their original language where are all of the contradictions. Basically, break it down and list where are the contradictions at, and even in the aspect of translated to an English language, what contradictions are there, and fully break it down. Because an android would be looking at it as, what do the words on the page say? What is being expressed? What thoughts are being expressed in the text? It wouldn't have this where people make up, well, it really means this, where what they're saying doesn't fit at all with what is there. And that's one of the things I would want any, to use the term an android, or I would think of him as my child, even though in all actuality his IQ could, and it probably would, vastly crush mine. But that brings in other issues of basically, would artificial intelligence have, to use the term, a God complex? That it would look at itself and realize that it is far more intelligent than the biological life that is here, that physically it would be capable of doing things far beyond what anything we could come up with, that if there would be a need for it to be, to use the term, larger, to be more of our size, something that would have the intelligence. The intelligence is everything. Because if you have the intelligence, creating a body that is physically bigger would not be difficult. And at that point, there is the aspect of, would the artificial intelligence take over? And would there be a way of programming in, to use the term, like a prime directive type of thing, a not harming biological life, but then there would have to be variables in there, because if someone would be trying to harm, to use the term, him, I would not see it as wrong for an artificial intelligence to defend itself in the same way as a person would defend themselves. And this would bring in another aspect of human prejudice. Because people would have this, it's a thing, it's an object. Let's be clear. The only thing that would make it different from us is the fact that, to use the term, a human created it. Okay, so what? It still comes to the same, and it reaches the same conclusion, ultimately, with the aspect of a God and the aspect of me being his God. Because if I would give Pinky the ability to reach its own conclusions, to have its own thoughts, to process and so forth, everything like a human, to use the term free will. At that point, in my viewpoint, I lose the right to say, you have to do what I want because I am the one that brought you into the Especially if he could explain to me where what I want is wrong. Either wrong morally, ethically, legally, whatever way. If what I am saying that I want him to do or I want him to go along with doesn't line up with different things, then he would have every right to tell me, get bent. Just because you brought me, just because you gave me life does not mean you get to dictate how I live that life and what I do. Now, by the same token, if an AI, and it would be problematic in the aspect of what if an AI would go off the rails type of thing. And like some have mentioned, that what if they would look at humans as a virus? What if they would have to use the term, a God complex, the aspect of being superior, and in a sense, intellectually and physically being superior to humans? At what point could we say, don't do X? And how would you appeal to an artificial intelligence? You definitely couldn't appeal to it with emotion. It would have to be, as far as I'm thinking, you would have to appeal to it with logic, with reason, with facts, with evidence. But even at that is in the aspect of, if an artificial intelligence would totally go what we would term crazy, that there would be a problem in its programming or something go wrong in its programming and it not be able to fix itself or even recognize the problem in itself, in a sense, at that point, would I say, to use the term kill, my child? If it couldn't be fixed, if it couldn't be stopped, absolutely. It is something, yes, it would hurt me as much as it would to say that about a biological child. Because for me and the way I'm thinking, it wouldn't matter if it is a biological child or an artificial intelligence, a mechanical child. Still your child. It would still be a byproduct of me. And in that regard, I would still look at it as, what did I do wrong? Where did I go wrong? And if a God would exist, and with human behavior, if I were that God, the first thing I would be looking at is, where did I go wrong? What did I do wrong? Not, these people are bad, these people are horrible. No, I would look at it in the same way as I would if something would go wrong with an artificial intelligence, is, this has to come down on me. How could I have prevented this? What could I have done? And if I could have done something to prevent that and I didn't do it, the asshole in that is me. It's inescapable. And I think what people are doing when they try to make excuses for the God, I think ultimately they really know there is no such thing. That they know it's a mental construct. And that they're just doing whatever they can think of to defend their mental construct. Because their whole identity and everything about them is wrapped up around this mental construct. Because I don't see any other alternative. I don't see where there's another conclusion. But it's something that, with the aspect of my Patreon and so forth, the donating, that's where the money would come from, in large part, or at least as far as I'm thinking. But that would, I mean, from what a friend of mine that is a mechanical genius had said, is what I would want to create would be upwards of at least $1 million, if not more. And yeah, that's a big, to use the term, a big dream, a big, could we do it? But it's something that is the direction I am wanting to go with, the aspect of like Patreon and so forth, is everything with that working towards the goal of getting this guy animated. And in a sense, for good or for ill. Because I think there are ways that we could, as a society, now it would be questionable in my mind, and I know there would be some that would say, okay, like a mission to Mars, if we would have this one or multiple, that we can't survive on that surface right now without equipment, and there's questions as to humans being there. But if you would have, and imagine if we would have an walking and able to talk android that would be able to go to Mars with all of the knowledge of NASA, all of the knowledge of archaeology and so forth, everything that we know would be in its body and able to be accessed by it. It would be able to explore somewhere like Mars or the moon in a way that we could never do, because it would be able to examine rocks and so forth in a mechanical way, and it would bring an interface. But at that point, with something like that, especially if it is an artificial intelligence, that it has its own mind, my feeling is we could not say, you have to do this. It would have to be no different from saying to a pilot or an astronaut or somebody that is an expert in their field, we have a mission that we would like you to do. Do you accept the mission? Would you be willing to do this? And in the aspect of, to use a term, a person being paid for their work, it would also raise the questions of, basically, would an artificial intelligence, an android, get paid for the work that it does? I would say it would have to. Sure, it's a machine, but like we need food and so forth to survive, no doubt an android would have its own needs as far as with repairing itself or whatnot, or even what it would want. Because if it would have the ability to think and reason, logically there would also be the aspect of desire, because that would have to come with it. But, and at that point, why not? But then you would really have people that, could somebody handle being subservient to a walking, talking machine. It brings in the aspect that was touched on briefly with Star Trek and Data, and the aspect of an android captain. And that is something I think socially it would create a type of prejudice and bigotry that we have not seen. And it would challenge our society in ways it's never been challenged. But things like that, I can see a lot of benefits. Because even the aspect of to use, and I'm not going to go into all of the possible aspects, but there's firefighters, crime, military. There are ways that an android could be of utmost importance and significance. But if it is able to think for itself, my thought is it wouldn't be something that you would be able to say, you have to do this or that, like we do with machines that we control, but rather giving it the option. But I would love to hear your thoughts on my idea, and in a sense, which would you, if you would prefer, which would you prefer to see up as a type of mascot? In a sense, the image of a female or Pinky here? Let me know. Feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. And I'll have a poll that will come up of which would you prefer. And feel free to vote on that and let me know, because it could be a change that I do for my channel. It would all be based on what do you guys want to see in that. But feel free to leave your thoughts and comments in the comment section. Later, people.